Alright y'all, today we are going to be ranking the greatest gunsmiths who ever lived. Legends who said, "Hold my beer," and changed warfare forever. We got 16 names, from the guy who invented copy-paste for gun parts to the Austrian curtain rod salesman who built a plastic pistol that made boomers absolutely lose their minds. Some of these fellas you know, some you don't. And one guy, well, he's just so good that if I started with him, you would just leave. So buckle up, grab your snacks, and let's talk about the GOATs. You know what's wild? Before Samuel Colt came along, if you wanted multiple shots, you either carried multiple guns or you reloaded real slow while praying nobody was shooting back at you. Colt changed everything. Born in 1814, this guy brought the revolver to the masses and basically invented modern manufacturing while he was at it. The Colt Patterson, the Walker, the Single Action Army, these are legendary. But here's a real genius. Colt didn't just make good guns, he figured out how to mass produce them with interchangeable parts. That's huge, folks. Before him, every gun was basically custom made. After him, assembly lines. Yeah. His revolvers won the West, armed both sides of the Civil War, and became cultural icons. God made men, but Sam Colt made them equal. You've heard that one, right? Now, he wasn't perfect. Some of his early designs were kind of finicky, and he got real lucky with military contracts, but the impact was undeniable. Solid legend, just not the legend. Solid B-tier gunsmith. Don't worry, we'll get there. Now here's definitely a name you might not know, but you've definitely seen his work. Uziel Gal. Born in Germany, moved to Israel, and in the 1950s he designed one of the most iconic submachine guns ever. Did you hear it in the name? The Uzi. Now, the Uzi is compact, it's reliable, and it became the symbol in 1980s action movies. Secret Service agents, Israeli Defense Forces. Every action hero who needed to look cool, they all had Uzis. Gal was a lieutenant in the Israeli army, and he designed this thing to be simple, cheap to produce, and effective in close quarters. Mission accomplished. The Uzi uses a telescoping bolt that wraps around the barrel, which makes the whole gun shorter without sacrificing that barrel length. Pretty dang clever. Been used by over 90 countries, and it's still in service today. Now, is it the best submachine gun ever? No, probably not. The MP5 does exist. But it's iconic, it's reliable, and Gal built it when Israel desperately needed a domestic SMG. Fun fact, Gal didn't actually want the gun named after him. He was humble like that, but they did it anyway. Respect. B-tier gunsmith. Great invention, but others brought more into play. Eugene Stoner is the reason half of America owns an AR-15. In the 1950s, this guy was working for Armalite, a tiny company nobody had ever heard of. That's when he designed the AR-10 and then the AR-15. Lightweight, modular, gas-operated, and built out of aluminum and plastic while everyone else was still using wood and steel. People thought he was crazy. Plastic in a rifle? Get the heck out of here. But then the military tested it, and guess what? It worked real well. The AR-15 became the M16, and now it's the longest-serving rifle in U.S. military history. Stoner was decades ahead of his time. Modular design? Check. Lightweight? Check. Easy to customize? Check. The AR platform is basically the Lego set of guns. You can build it however you want. Now, Stoner didn't just design a rifle, he designed a system, and today there are more AR-15s in civilian hands than any other rifle in America. That's impact, baby. Now, the early M16 had issues, jamming problems in Vietnam because of bad ammo and poor maintenance, but that wasn't Stoner's fault. His design was solid. Absolute legend. I give him an A-tier rank since he was ahead of his time and so many civilians have an AR-15 thanks to him. Christopher Minor Spencer does not get enough credit, and that is a shame. In 1860, right before the Civil War, this guy invented the Spencer repeating rifle, one of the first successful lever-action repeaters. It held 7 rounds in a tube magazine, and you could fire them way faster than any muzzleloader. Union soldiers loved it. Lincoln himself test-fired one and said, "Yeah, we need these." The Spencer rifle gave the Union a huge advantage in firepower, and it's been called one of the guns that helped win the war. Pretty impressive, right? But here's the problem. After the war, better lever actions came along. The Henry rifle, the Winchester, and the Spencer kind of faded into history. It was revolutionary for its time, but it got overshadowed. Spencer also invented a bunch of other stuff. Machinery, tools, even an automatic screw machine, but his rifle is what he's remembered for. The Spencer repeating rifle was revolutionary, but ultimately got overseen by later designs, and for that reason, he gets ranked in the C tier. Paul Mauser. If you ever shot a bolt-action rifle, you felt this man's influence. Born in Germany in 1838, Mauser spent his life perfecting the bolt-action design. By the time he was done, he'd created the gold standard. The Mauser 98 action, introduced in 1898, hence the name, is still considered the best bolt-action design ever made. It's strong, it's reliable, it's smooth, and it's been copied by basically every rifle manufacturer on Earth. Remington, Winchester, you name it. They all borrowed from Mauser. His rifles armed the German military through 2 world wars, and after that, they became the basis for hunting rifles worldwide. Even today, if you're buying a high-end bolt gun, there's a good chance it's based on Mauser's design. This guy was a genius. He didn't just make one good rifle, he created a system that's lasted over 120 years. That is legacy, folks. Absolute icon. B tier because his impact is still felt today. Mikhail Kalashnikov, the man, the myth, the legend who designed the AK-47, the most influential firearm in human history. Born in 1919 in Siberia, Kalashnikov was a tank mechanic in World War II. He got wounded in battle, and while recovering, he started tinkering with rifle designs. In 1947, he finished the AK-47. The world has never been the same since. This rifle is everywhere. Over 100 million AKs have been produced, and it's been used in basically every conflict since the 1950s. Why? Well, because it's simple, it's reliable, and it works in any condition. We're talking about sand, mud, water, freezing cold, it don't matter. The AK keeps running. You can bury it in the dirt for 10 years, dig it up, and it'll still fire. And that right there is insane. Kalashnikov built a rifle that anyone could use and maintain. No fancy training, no special tools, just point and shoot. It's on flags, it's in movies. It's a symbol of revolution and resistance worldwide. Kalashnikov himself said he'd wished he'd invented a lawnmower instead, but man, his impact's undeniable. A-tier legend status, no question. You ever hear that ping sound? Well, you know the one, the M1 Garand ejecting its M-block clip after that last round. That's the sound of history, baby. John Garand, a Canadian-American engineer, designed the M1 Garand in the 1930s, and it became the first standard-issue semi-automatic rifle in the world. Guys, that's huge. While other countries are still using bolt actions, American soldiers had semi-autos. General Patton called it the greatest battle implement ever devised, and honestly, he wasn't wrong. The M1 Garand gave U.S. troops a massive firepower advantage in World War II. It was reliable, accurate, and tough as nails. It served from World War II through Korea and still is used in ceremonial roles today. Now, that M-block clip system is kind of weird. You gotta load all 8 rounds at once, and the Grand Thumb is a thing. But once it's empty, it ejects with that iconic ping noise. Some folks say there's a tactical disadvantage because it tells enemies when you're empty. But honestly, in the chaos of battle, nobody's hearing that. B tier for the sheer impact of this gun. Absolute classic. Dieudonne Saive is the definition of underrated. This Belgian engineer worked with John Browning. Yes, that Browning. And after Browning passed away, Saive finished his final design, the Browning High Power, the pistol that became one of the most widely used handguns in history. That's not all. Saive also designed the FNFAL, the right arm of the free world. This battle rifle was adopted by over 90 countries during the Cold War. It was reliable, powerful, and chambered in 7.62 NATO, which meant it hit hard. The FAL was the NATO answer to the AK-47, and it served from the 1950s all the way into the 2000s in some places. Saive doesn't get the name recognition of Browning or Kalashnikov, but his design shaped the Cold War. The high power is still in production, and FAL is still beloved by collectors and shooters worldwide. He was Browning's successor, and he carried that legacy pretty dang well. A true legend who ranks up in high B-tier status and deserves way more recognition. George Luger, the man who designed one of the most beautiful pistols ever made. Also one of the most finicky. The Luger pistol, officially called the Pistole Parabellum 1908, is iconic. Toggle lock action, that sleek profile, it's a work of art. German officers carried it through both world wars, and it became a symbol of the era. Problem is, well, it's complicated. The Luger's got a lot of moving parts. It's sensitive to dirt, jams if you look at it wrong. I mean, it's gorgeous, sure, but it ain't practical. Compared to something like the 1911 or High Power, and it just doesn't hold up. That said, Luger's design was pretty innovative for its time. The toggle lock system was unique, and the ergonomics are still praised today. It's just not a workhorse, it's a showpiece, you feel? Collectors love Lugers, and they command crazy prices, but as a fighting pistol, I don't know, the Luger's iconic, finicky, and it's beautiful. A legend, but practicality ain't its strong suit. Still, respect to George for making something so memorable. You get C tier from me. Alright folks, here we go. John Moses Browning, the GOAT. Greatest firearms designer who ever lived, and it ain't even close. This man designed over 128 firearm patents, and his designs are still in production today over a century later. Let that sink in. Browning didn't just make good guns, he made timeless guns. The 1911 pistol, still the gold standard for reliable full-size semi-autos. The M2 Browning machine gun, designed in 1933 and still in service with the U.S. military. The Browning High Power, the Auto 5 shotgun, the BAR, the Winchester Model 1894. This man did it all. He invented the pump-action shotgun, perfected the semi-auto pistol, and created machine guns that changed warfare forever. Browning's designs have been used in every major conflict since World War I. He worked with Winchester, Colt, Remington, FN. Everybody wanted a piece of Browning's genius, and the craziest part, a lot of his designs were ahead of their time. The 1911 was designed in, 1911, but it's one of the most popular pistols in the world. That's over 110 years of dominance. If there's a Mount Rushmore at Gunsmiths, Browning's face is carved the biggest. He's the GOAT, greatest of all time, and everyone else is playing for second place. Easy S tier. In fact, we had to feature him near the end because honestly, he would have ended the video early with this mic drop of a feature. Respect the legend. Gaston Glock, the man who made a plastic gun that boomers hated until it took over the entire world. In the early 1980s, Glock was running a curtain rod company in Austria. He'd never designed a gun before, but then the Austrian military put out a contract for a new service pistol, and Glock thought, why not? So he built the Glock 17, polymer frame striker-fired pistol with no external safety. And people lost their dang minds. Plastic? No safety? This is dangerous. But then police departments tested it and it worked out flawlessly. It was light, reliable, and had a huge capacity, and it was stupid simple to use. Today, Glocks are everywhere. Law enforcement, military, civilians, everybody's got a Glock. It's the best-selling handgun in America, and it's used by over 65% of U.S. police departments. Glock didn't just design a gun, he built an empire. He gets A tier from me with all he did with zero experience in firearms when he started. That's insane. He's a marketing god and an engineering beast. Absolute legend. John Peterson is the king of what could have been. This guy was brilliant, folks. He designed the Peterson device, a conversion kit that turned a bolt-action 1903 Springfield into semi-auto. It was pure genius. He also designed the toggle delay blowback system used in some submachine guns. The problem was timing. His stuff was great, but history just didn't cooperate. The Peterson device was supposed to be used in World War I, but the war ended before it ever saw action. His rifle designs were passed over for the M1 Garand. He had incredible ideas, they just never got their moment. Like being the smartest kid in class but never getting called on, which is frustrating. Peterson's story is a reminder that sometimes being a genius ain't enough, you also need some luck. So, he lands in C tier. His weapons were great, history just didn't cooperate with him. Hiram Maxim invented something that changed warfare forever, the recoil-operated machine gun. Before Maxim, machine guns existed, but they were hand-cranked and unreliable. Maxim figured out how to use recoil energy from one shot to automatically load the next and fire it. Boom! Happy mode activated. The Maxim gun could fire 600 rounds per minute, and it did not need a crank. Just hold the trigger. And this thing, guys, it dominated. It was used in colonial wars, World War I, World War II, everywhere. The British used it, the Germans adapted it, everybody wanted one of these. Maxim didn't just make a gun, he made a weapon that redefined how wars were fought. Trenches, defensive positions, suppressive fire, all thanks to the machine gun. Now I gotta say, Maxim himself was kind of a character. He was an inventor and an entrepreneur, but listen, he knew how to sell his product. There is no denying the impact of this A-tier gunsmith. absolute game changer. James Paris Lee designed the Leon Field Action. If you know anything about bolt-action rifles, you know this is a big deal. The Leon Field was a British military rifle from the late 1800s all the way through World War II, and it was fast. British soldiers could fire 15 aimed rounds per minute with this thing, which was insane for a bolt action. The Lee Action used rear lock-and lugs, which made the bolt throw super smooth and short. It was faster than the Mauser, though not quite as strong, and still, it got the job done. The Leon Field's one of the most produced bolt actions ever, with over 17 million made. It served the British Empire for decades and is still used in some places today. Lee was a legend, no doubt, but he's overshadowed by bigger names. Mauser, Browning, Garand. He's like a rhythm guitarist in a rock band. Essential, but not the frontman. C tier, a legend just overshadowed by bigger names. Benjamin Tyler Henry created the Henry rifle, and let me tell you, this thing was revolutionary. In 1860, right before the Civil War, Henry designed a lever-action rifle that held 16 rounds in a tubular magazine. 16! When everybody else had a single-shot muzzleloader, this thing was bringing a machine gun to a musket fight. The Union Army didn't officially adopt it. It was too expensive, but soldiers bought them with their own money, and that just tells you how good it was. Confederate soldiers called it that damn Yankee rifle you load on Sunday and shoot all week. The Henry rifle turned the Civil War into a rapid-fire chaos, and it laid the foundation for the Winchester repeating rifles that came after. Henry's design was brilliant, but Winchester improved on it and took all the credit. Still, without Henry, we don't get the Winchester 1866 or the 1873. C tier here, but I did consider B tier for this iconic gunsmith. Now here's a bonus for you, Eli Whitney. You probably know him for the cotton gin, but let me tell you, he also changed firearms manufacturing forever. In the early 1800s, Whitney got a contract to make muskets for the US government, and he introduced something revolutionary: interchangeable parts. Before Whitney, every gun was handmade. If something broke, you needed a gunsmith to custom fit a new part. Whitney said, what if we made parts that fit any gun? Mind blown. Now, he didn't fully achieve it. His parts were mostly interchangeable, not perfect, but he did lay the groundwork for modern mass production. Assembly line, standardized parts, economies of scale. Whitney started all that. Without him, we wouldn't get Colt, we don't get modern manufacturing, and guns stay expensive custom items. See, his impact goes way beyond firearms, too. B tier status. He basically kickstarted the Industrial Revolution in America. A true pioneer. Now that's the list, 16 of the greatest gunsmiths of all time. From Eli Whitney's interchangeable parts to John Moses Browning's legendary designs, these are the men who helped shape firearms history and change our world. Some of them are household names, some of them are underrated legends, but all of these folks deserve respect. So, drop a comment and let me know, did I miss anybody? You think the rankings are fair? And hey, if you learned something today, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and stick around for more history, reviews, and gun content. Y'all come back now, you hear?